What you're telling me, this idea of Egyptians being Arab, is something that was created in the 19th century really by the British when they were here. So before this time, Egyptians never had a concept of themselves as being an Arab people.
No, as part of the Islamic world. The whole Muslim thought of themselves as part of the Islamic world.
So they thought of themselves as being part of the Islamic world, but not necessarily being Arab.
No. Originally, in the very beginning, when Christianity was introduced to Egypt, you know, the Greeks could not pronounce the term for Egypt at that time, so they called Egypt Aegyptus. And then gradually, when the Arabs came, they called Egypt the Egyptians the Copts. Okay, so in the early history, like in the 7th century and the 9th and the 8th century books, you will find them referring to the Egyptians as the Christian Copts and the Muslim Copts.
I see.
Coptic was an Egyptian. Gradually, whoever converted to Islam, he became part of the Islamic nation, so he became a Muslim belonging to the Islamic nation. Who did not belong to the Islamic nation remained a Copt as he is.
Okay.
That's how this term gradually changed from referring to all the Egyptians to refer only to the Christians of Egypt, who are still Egyptians, who are not Arabs at all. Okay, with the course of time, we refer to the whole part of this world as the Islamic world.
Yes.
And then again, we decided, no, we should separate, or they wanted us to be separated from Turkey, so we were referred to as Arabs.
I see. Very interesting. So today, do you find a lot of Egyptians like yourself who do not consider themselves Arabs?
Not many, because as I told you, people think of what they hear in mass media as for granted.
Yes.
So we are the Arab Republic of Egypt politically. So they don't really think, should we see if this is right or wrong? Okay, I don't believe that we are Arabs, but I don't think you will find many people who were bothered by this question or even thought to see if this is right or wrong.
So in other words, this is more a political term rather than a genealogical term, because the people who are here are the same people who've been here for thousands of years.
In fact, the people who will tell you we are not Arabs, these are mainly the students of the ancient Egyptian civilization who believe now we are not Arabs, we have something, or we are something different from them. But
Very
the rest
interesting.
of the people are not really interested.
I see. So, you raise a very good point about the fact that people here in Egypt are living, they live a very hard life. They have to deal with real life problems and situations, and they don't have time to sit down and argue and debate, these philosophical questions of race and identity, It's like they live life one day at a time, like their primary objective is survival. So when this is the case, you don't have time for these luxuries.
Yeah, it's a hard life.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much for this interview, because you've really helped to educate a lot of people.
Have got a problem, okay?
What's their problem, Uncle?
Be they indigenous Berbers or not, both sides have got the same problem. They strongly believe they are Arabs. And that belief is false.
But the other Arabs don't believe
The
them.
majority, because I grew up in North Africa myself.
Because if you say you're
The
an Arab,
majority are Berbers. You got between 30% and 40% of Southern European. They could be Turks, they could be Greeks,
Romans,
Spanish, Romans, French, whatever they are. Okay,
Visigoths.
but the majority are Berbers.
I hear.
hamburger.
And you're talking about
But both of them,
Berbers.
for convenience sake,
So
they believe that they are Arabs because they speak Arabic. And all
Yeah,
that.
because it's
Why
from
don't the other
Arabs?
Arabs? So I don't understand. The other Arabs from the Khalij, the Arab Peninsula
The real Arabs are the Yemenis
Thank you.
and the south of Saudi Arabia. From Mecca and you go north, they are not really Arab, they are more Persians and mixture of
Asian.
wherever.
Uncle, I always wanted to ask someone: is Arab more of a language and a culture more than people?
Well, the Arab identity never existed in human history. It was created by the British in order to dismantle the Ottoman Empire. Before 1914, the First World War, nobody claimed said I was an Arab. Even in North Africa, people said they were Muslims. In Mali, they used to say they were Muslims. If you study, Mali used to feed Arabia. The Berbers of Mali, Niger, and Chad, and all that were rich before they had gold, and Ghana, Ashanti Ghana. They used to feed the Arabs. They never said they were Arabs. They said they were Muslims. Okay. Now, when Britain wanted to defeat the Ottoman Empire, they used the Arabs as traitors.
Real Berber.
And they created the Arab identity. The Arab identity is new.
That's what I'm saying. The point is the Arab identity is new. This is what confuses me, because when I see amongst Arabs themselves, sometimes you listen to Arab, it's Arabic. So when you listen to Arab Kuno, I think to myself, why is my brothers, the Arabian brothers, killing each other and mass drones? Like you're saying, the identity is new. They don't know each other or something, or don't they realize they're cousins?
It's an identity fabricated by the colonial power. Britain used them against the Ottomans and screwed them up.
What is the
There is, during the Umayyad period, Arabs accrued to themselves the sense of a superior race like the Jews did. In other words, a lot of their theology as an unlettered people was taken from Jewish epistemology, Jewish philosophy, the way of doing things, writing stuff down. A lot of it was borrowed, not just used from the Greeks and stuff as well, because essentially Bedouin society only writes down the barest minimum. So now they're now a civilized society. The capital is now in Damascus. They're the center of the world. They have to do things like an empire, because instead of being a caliphate, really and truly it was an empire. I can't get away from that. So now you have, in empires, you have Übermensch and Untermensch. You have this kind of thing in all empires. Even the Romans said, if you belong to the Roman outpost of Hispania in Spain, you're still a Roman citizen. No, you had higher citizens and lower citizens. Right. What I'm saying about the Umayyad became an empire. Arabic became the language of the empire, and it gave the Arabs a sense of freedom. Now, who are the Arabs? Here's the kicker. Yeah, the Arabs could start by, you see, you can take it small or big, you can telescope this point. You could have Jazirat al-Arab. The Arabs could come from just the Arabian Peninsula. So people from Oman, which is Yemen today, which is Qatar, which is Bahrain, which is Emirat, which is Saudi, which is and so forth, could be Arabs. And they would be the nucleus of the Arabs. But they're not just the Arabs, right? Because later on, there are people who bought into being Arab, like Berbers in North Africa. If you go to Egypt, I'm talking about Egypt. I'm talking about Morocco. I'm not going to Morocco. I'm not going to Algeria. In Egypt, if you go to Siwa, you will find Berbers still, which is the border with Libya. So as far as still in Egypt, you still get Berber-speaking people. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, Arabic conferred, because remember this is the written language. Berber was not a written language. A lot of the languages, Persian was written. So that's why you will see of all the civilizations that were encompassed by the Arabs at the time of the Umayyads, the Persians retained their language, right? And they retained their civilization. And you may notice that Persians don't have a problem with this dialogue we're having. You see this debate we're having about, I don't want to be no Muslim because that's an Arab thing. Persians don't wake up at night worrying about that. They know who they are, even though they're Muslim. They know they're Persians. And they're happy with that, they're proud of that, they're cool with that. And I think anybody who becomes a Muslim doesn't have to feel he's surrendering too much. And if he's surrendering too much, he has to check himself.
This can be seen in politics, sports, geography, and many more fields. But why does the media insist on ignoring these calls? Why do they insist in Arab wash in North Africa? Well, the media insists on labeling North Africa as Arab for many reasons. For one, many of them don't really know any better. They think that North Africans are ethnically Arab. A great deal of them even think that Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya are in the Middle East. Most, however, are aware of the Amazigh awakening, but unfortunately they only see these Amazigh as a separatist group. Others think that the Amazigh are nothing but a minority. And it doesn't help when many Moroccans themselves actually self-identify as Arabs. So in this video, we're going to be talking about some misconceptions and correcting these misconceptions as we go. The first misconception is North Africans are widely portrayed as Arabs, and North Africa is part of the Middle East. Well, that's not correct. North Africans are ethnically, culturally, and linguistically Amazigh. And Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Mauritania, the Canary Islands are in the African continent, not in the Arabian Peninsula. The Amazigh people live in the mountains. Unfortunately, this misconception is widely encouraged by the tourism industry in Morocco. City dwellers are being portrayed as Arabs, and the Amazigh people belong in the Atlas Mountains, but that's completely wrong. All Moroccans are Amazigh, regardless of the geographical location or linguistic background. The indigenous land of Imazigh is a region called Tamazgha, and it encompasses Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Egypt, and the Canary Islands. Although sometimes labeled as an ethnic minority, the Amazigh people are not a minority. The majority of North Africans are predominantly Amazigh. Many Europeans and North Americans only think of the Atlas Mountains in the south of Morocco when they hear anything related to the Amazigh people or the Berbers. The north of Morocco, however, or the Rif region, is also a center for the Amazigh people. In the Rif region, Tarifit is widely spoken by many Amazigh people. The Rif region is a symbol of resistance against the Portuguese, the Spanish, the French, and even Moroccan aggression at times during its history. Another misconception is the idea that Moroccans are mixed between Berbers and Arabs. While many North Africans claim that they are mixed and there is really no pure Amazigh race, the reality is different. Amazigh are not Arabs, and they have their own language, culture, and identity.